Hey guys, Whitney here. Thanks so much for joining. This is another installment of the Ash Wealth Show. And here you're in the right place if you've never purchased real estate before and you want to know how, or maybe you have several rentals under your belt. You're in the right space because here, maybe one of these three situations applies to you. You've tried to buy rentals before, it just got stuck and lost all your confidence, or maybe you have a few under your belt and you've hit a ceiling of growth in your portfolio, or maybe you're just overwhelmed by all the information out there and you're just plain stuck. This is what we do. We help you break through those levels of achievement. And then this is the reason why I invest in real estate. This is me and my crazy crew. I've invested in real estate several times, since 2002. Initially I started off doing live-in flipping and house hacking, and then transitioned over to buy and hold investing. And the reason why I did that is because, you know, I was sitting here building up buckets of cash with my fix and flipping and house hacking, but I wasn't building cash flow. That's what gives you financial independence and financial freedom, is how do you transition that equity into cash flow? And when I was able to do that, fast forward, my husband and I have been able to build a pretty significant portfolio, mostly residential and a few self-storage units. We flipped several $1,000,000 in real estate, but really none of this was impossible until we did our core foundation. We got those first 30 properties under our belt in our portfolio, stabilizing our cash flow, building out the cash flow and equity foundation to which we can launch the rest of our investing career. And we did all of this while working a normal job, being a wife, being a mom, taking care of our family. So I know that's one of the number one objections people have whenever they're starting to build their real estate portfolios. How do I do this with all the other obstacles, all the other things that are around me? And you guys, you can do it too. And I'm going to share a few secrets with you today. And what makes what I'm going to share so different is that I'm going to share with you 3 tips right now on things that I have done or I figured out, discovered over the last 18 years in investing. And you guys, you have to have these 3 things. One, you have to have a specific roadmap for investing. And I have one that can help anybody achieve financial independence in a fraction of the time that they could if they didn't have an investing plan. Okay. Once you have that investing plan, and only once you had that investing plan, can you start systematizing, putting the systems and the people in place to help you execute and build. And once you do that, then you got to throw some gas on the fire, right? You got to light it. And that's when you got to learn how to scale quickly. And one of the ways we can do that in real estate is leveraging not only other systems and people, we got that in stage 2, but how do we leverage other people's money to accelerate our wealth build? And at the end of the day, whenever you are able to build your foundation, start growing your investing pyramid, what we discover is that you too can have 100% choice of your time. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. How do we generate that monthly income? Okay, so that initial monthly income. And in this case, I'm going to walk you through a plan on how to generate $2,000 a month. Now, that may not be life blowing money to you, but just imagine, could it cover a majority of your bills? Could cover your house payment, maybe your car payment, maybe your kid's school tuition payment? Could it cover some things in your life to start offsetting your expenses and allow you to accelerate your savings and your wealth build? All right. So what this requires is that we have to have an acquisition plan. Okay. And in order to have an acquisition plan, you have to understand your why. Why are you getting in real estate investing, period? Now, a lot of times when I ask this of investors, they initially say, oh, well, I want cash flow. I want this, I want that. Yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg. We want to go way many levels deeper to understand what it is that achieving financial independence, financial freedom will actually help you achieve. What is that core why that you're doing this? For me, it's so I can have my time back. Okay. So, and the reason why we want to go super duper deep on understanding that why and what your goals are is because then we can start driving your acquisition plan to fit those goals. Okay. The number one thing that I see investors do is start building an investing plan, start gathering investments, and they go, oh, wait, no, this is not what I wanted to do. Case in point, a lot of investors start off with fix and flipping, and then they realize, oh my gosh, I got another job. And really what they wanted was their time back. And anyways, and it kind of snowballs from there. So you got to understand why. You got to know what your goals are. Okay. When you know what your goals are, you have to be incredibly honest with yourself on what kind of time do you have to invest. Okay. Meaning that we aren't going to build out an acquisition plan that requires you to be online or in the field 20, 30, 40 hours a week. If all you have to commit to this is 5 hours a week. All right. Once you know your goals, once you understand how much time that you really truly have to invest, that you are going to set aside on a consistent, persistent basis, then you got to know your investment strategy. Okay. So that alone, steps 1 and 2, will help kind of weed out a lot of these, strategies. Okay. Or rule some in, rule some out. Once you understand 1, 2, and 3, now it's time to really kind of fully get a grasp on what kind of capital you have to invest. And this is where, working with somebody who understands how to, reposition assets can really be very strategic for you. Okay. Especially if you're struggling to understand, what's the best course of action to put your assets to higher and better use. Okay. This is where getting a mentor or a coach can really assist you. Okay. And then number 5, this isn't something that I talk about a whole lot, but you do have to have an answer to this question as you're building out your acquisition plan, is to know if you're going to reinvest your proceeds, your cash flow and your equity back into building, or if you're going to consume it. All right. You will scale faster if you can continue to take the other people's money, what your tenants are paying you, what equity you're making on any sales or repositions, forced equity or market equity, and reinvest it back into the plan until you hit that cash flow that you want. Right. Once we've got the steps 1 through 5, okay, now we can start getting into the how. Okay. Don't skip the why, guys. Very, very important. You got to go deep on that why. All right. Then we get into the how. Are you going to purchase with cash? Are you going to use lines of credit, or maybe different forms of lending like conventional, commercial, hard money, private money? Or are you going to invest into other people's deals utilizing syndication? Okay. All of these need to be taken into account as you build your acquisition plan, because there are a myriad of different ways that you can actually scale up and get $2,000 a month in real estate. All right. So let's kind of dive into some specifics. We're going to utilize under the how, we're going to look at cash, lines of credit, and lending options. So let's take an example that I think a lot of people recognize: purchasing a $100,000 home. Now, $100,000 might be like a starter home in your area, or maybe in your area where starter homes start at like $1 million. Okay, but there are some great areas in the United States, workforce housing areas, that you can purchase a home for $100,000 and get a very solid return on it and a very solid tenant. Okay, but in this scenario, we're going to purchase this $100,000 home using conventional financing. Now, there's going to be some math involved here, so follow along on the assumptions with me. Okay, we're going to assume that the interest rate is 5.5%. Okay, now depending on where you're watching this, maybe rates are higher or lower, but let's just say 5.5% on a conventional finance loan. Okay. And rates might differ depending on your credit worthiness as well. Okay. Now, if we make some basic assumptions, and rents are $1,000 a month, taxes are $65 a month, insurance is $58 a month, and property management is $80 a month. And then we're going to set aside CapEx and maintenance at $150 a month. Okay. This is our overarching scenario for all the different situations we're going to look at. Okay, so we're buying the same $100,000 house, okay, using these assumptions. What if we bought the house using lending? Okay, so in this case, we're actually purchasing the house at $100,000, and we're going to put 20% down, which is $20,000. And if we assume that interest rate is at 5.5%, we our principal and interest is going to be $455. Okay. Now the math here means that if we got to take $1,000 a month in our rent, we're going to subtract all those expenses that we just noted on the previous page. So I'm going to go back the other direction. We're going to subtract all these expenses. Okay. Then to make $2,000 a month, we are going, or excuse me, $1,000 a month less all our expenses means we've got $200 a month in profit, pure profit, okay? After we paid all our expenses, set aside for reserves that can be tax-free, and I'll tell you how to do this, which if we have $200 a month, if we need $2,000 a month, then we're going to take the 2,000 divided by 200, and you're going to need about 10 of these $100,000 homes. Now, the really cool thing here is, remember, we're setting aside $150 of property in cash flow reserves, in cash reserves. Okay, so that means so you're making $24,000, free and clear in your homes, and you're setting aside another $18,000, all right, to pad your reserves. Now, at some point in time, once your reserves are padded, you're not going to necessarily need to put away $18,000 a year. You can now start adding that back into your cash flow, or better yet, buying an extra house every single year. Okay, so this is kind of how you can, also save for your down payment on future homes. Okay, but always make sure that cash reserve for the maintenance and capex is solid. Okay, that you have that set aside. Now, if we look at the scenario here, if we're using lending, in this case, like, any loan at 5.5% that yields us 20% down, most likely going to be a conventional loan. The capital you're going to need to invest to get this project off the ground is $200,000. Okay. So that's one way you can generate $2,000 a month. Now, another way you can do it is you can buy the same $100,000 property all in cash. Okay, so your purchase is $100,000. Your down payment is $100,000 now. And if we do the math, we're going to take the same $1,000 a month in rent, back out all of our expenses, but now we don't have principal and interest to pay. But this is where I know a lot of people are like, I can cash flow more if I pay all in cash. I'm like, yes, and it's not like you're going to pocket all $1,000. You're still going to have to set aside for interest, taxes, cash, any sort of HOA fees. You're going to have to set aside for capex and maintenance as well. But here's the kicker: not all of this will be tax-free, because your depreciation that you're going to be able to book on this property is not going to cover all of that cash. All right. So, eventually you are going to run into a problem where you're going to start paying taxes on this income as well. But, another argument I hear is that I don't have to have as many homes. I can only, instead of buying 10, I can have 3 if I want $2,000 a month of cash flow. Sure. Okay. But look at this. We're also setting aside, because we only have 3 homes, we're only setting aside $5,400 a year in reserves. Okay. So it's going to take us a long time to build up that reserve basis, as well as we're going to need more capital to get invested at $300,000. So this is actually a more expensive plan for us to get started off with. All right. So this kind of goes back to, like, when I'm talking about the 3 levers you have to be successful in real estate. You have to have that roadmap. You got to have that plan initially. You got to have your systems and team. And that third piece, okay, you have to learn how to use other people's money if you're going to build. All right. Now, I wanted to leave you with some ideas. Like, if buying in all cash is appealing for you, okay, or lower leverage properties, so you're approaching retirement, okay, there are some strategical ways that you can implement. I'm going to pop them up here on the screen, that you can utilize right now to start saving up cash if this is the way you want to go. Or you can save it up for a larger down payment, like a $20,000 down payment, or whatever your down payment is on the property. Okay, you can start saving more money, start a side gig, leverage any personal lines of credit. I love partnering up with others. You could buy an asset or two and then wait for everything to appreciate and refinance. There's some what we call interest rate risk to that as well. You can sell your properties and trade up. Okay. I just did that with 6 of my original properties. Okay. Sold them. And then I like grouped them together in 1031 exchange and played a little game of Monopoly and traded up. Or you can play lottery. And that last point, kind of a joke, but I guess you might win. Anyway, so let's move on. Another favorite strategy of mine is the BRRRR, okay? Where you buy a property below value, you're going to rehab it, okay? Bring it up to market value, okay? You know, this is a property, it needs some love, like maybe paint, carpet, new cabinetry, new flooring. It's going to need maybe a roof, some HVAC, and, you know, very well, you can like get into like some of your higher CapEx items too, like moving walls, repairing foundations and stuff like that. So you're going to buy below value, you're going to rehab it, and you're going to rent it out. Okay, you're going to put a tenant in there and get a high-end income stream on it because it's brand new, sparkly property. And then you're going to refinance that property and pull your capital out, or as much as you can, much as you possibly can. And then you're going to repeat the process, utilizing the same bucket of money over and over again. So let's see how this plays out in building our portfolio. Okay, so in this is actually looking at a deal that I was able to do. I purchased a property for $60,000, put about 10 to 15K in rehab into it. The ARV on the property was actually popped up to 110 for our math. I made it easy at $100,000. Now here's the thing. When I go to refinance it, I have to leave 25% down on the property. But as you can see them from the math here, that 25K actually is the equity of the property. So if I purchased for 60K, put 15K into it, I'm all in for 75K. That 25K, that difference, that delta between 100 and 75K isn't actually my cash that I'm bringing to the table. That's what the value I forced on the property, the forced equity. Okay. So, and if I refinance out at 5.5%, my payment's now $425. Okay. So our payment's a little more, you know, just a hair less than our conventional situation. But let's look at the math here. $1,000 a month in rent, same property, back out all my expenses, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOA, CapEx, vacancy, and all that sort of stuff. I'm left with $200 a month in tax-free cash flow because I get depreciation to cover the taxes. Okay, I now have, this actually should be 230, sorry, and get a little bit more cash flow. So 2,000 divided by 230, that leaves me with about 9 homes I need to purchase. So 9, 10, still around in there. I'm still setting aside money for a hefty reserve amount every single year. Now here's the thing, I say capital invested 0K because I'm constantly taking my money out of the property, all right? I'm not leaving it in, okay? Now, you do need money to get started here. I like, you know, investors that I work with to have at least 50K in disposable equity or disposable cash that they have set aside to get this type of thing off and rolling. But you know, depending on the BRRRR, you might be able to continue to pull all your money out, which means 0 of your own money is in here, but you now own 9 homes that are 25% or 75% leverage. That's amazing. And they're cash flowing for you. You know, even if you could pull all but 10K out of each home, 9 homes times 10K, that's still, you get the same portfolio that's cash flowing at $2,000 a month for only $90,000. That's still an incredible return. Okay. All right. And then I wanted to throw one other, because I know oftentimes, you know, I talk to investors who, you know, have a little bit more capital to invest. Okay, in this case, we're gonna go into what we call a value add situation. So we're gonna still kind of BRRRR the property. This investor has $50,000 to $100,000 to invest, okay? In this case, with the syndication, and you guys understand that syndication is where we're pooling investor monies together to go buy an asset. Okay. So it can be a group of homes, it can be a group of investors, or it could be a multifamily property or a couple of them put together. And in this case, the operators, the general partners, are going to run the deal on the investor's behalf. I consider this the ultimate leverage because you can get access to a higher end deal, get more units. You can use other people's time, money, knowledge, expertise, their ability to get credit and lending and other investor money to access the deal. Now, the whole time on these deals, this is generally what you can't control if you go in a syndicated deal, is the whole time is usually set somewhere, depending on the deal structure, somewhere between 5 to 7 years for like multifamily or, single family portfolios. You don't get to say, hey, raise your hand and say, hey, let's sell the portfolio at year 3. If it doesn't fit in the business plan, you won't get to have that control over that. But let's just look at the math. Let's see. If you have $100,000 to invest, okay, back to our cash flow, our investor who is purchasing properties all in cash, okay, and we're going to compare it to that. If you invest $100,000 in each syndication and it's yielding an 8% return, say like which equals $667 a month or $40,000 over 5 years, okay. And if it's a value add, kind of like a rehab, if the general partners are going to split profit with you when these assets sell at 70-30, you would probably yield another 60,000 over 5 years. Okay, so you put $100,000 in, you're going to get 100,000 between cash flow and equity. You have 2 extra money in 5 years. And all you had to do was find the syndicators to invest with. You could achieve that same $2,000 a month in cash flow for $300,000 invested in syndication deals. Okay, so I wanted to show you 4 different ways on how to do this. So let's look at some consideration. Okay, when you're trying to figure out how are you going to put together your initial acquisition plan to hit like an income number, you got to understand what your goals are. Okay, your high level goals, your life goals. Okay, what is it the real estate's trying to give you? But also you got to understand your portfolio level goals. Do you need cash flow? Do you need appreciation? Do you need some sort of blend of both? Okay, you have to go back and understand how much time you have to invest. Okay, because if you have 0 time to invest, you probably need to look for a turnkey type provider or syndication provider in order to help you achieve your real estate investing goals. If you have a little bit more time and maybe doing this yourself, or if you have a lot of time, you can consider doing a more hands-on approach like a BRRRR. All right, and you have to consider how much capital do you have to start. All right, if all you have is $50,000, starting in syndications is probably not going to be much of an option for you. But you could get started with a couple, single family homes and definitely get started in the BRRRR. Right? Also, you have to understand when you're creating your acquisition plan, how much are you willing to leave in a property? All right. Now, I know a lot of people, especially in the BRRRR investors, they want the perfect BRRRR. They want to get all their money out of the property. Otherwise, it's a bust. It doesn't work. Well, guys, eventually, I don't want to say you can't pull all your money back out of the property, but you have to understand what type of market environment. Where are we in the real estate sales cycle? Okay, you may not get it all out now, but maybe you can get it out in 2 years. All right. I'm actually going through a refinance right now where I'm pulling the remaining part of my equity that I had left in my properties a couple years ago. I'm pulling that out. Okay, and then I'm going to be able to continue to grow my portfolio. Okay, and it didn't take me 5 years or 10 years to get the equity out. It only took me 2. And that's because of the real estate sales cycle. All right. Also, you got to understand how comfortable you are utilizing lending. Some people they hate lending. They don't like it at all. Well, then, yeah, you might need to buy all in cash, or I would really, if you can buy like multiple properties all in cash, I would really encourage you to look at a syndication. Okay. Also, how much hustle do you have? How scrappy are you? Are you an over, under, and through type person? Are you willing to work hard towards your goals? If you're pretty scrappy, you should, really consider utilizing Burr. But if that's just not what you're in for, if that's not what you like, then don't do it. Let's find a different investment strategy for you. All right. Well, guys, I hope this was time well spent. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you guys have any questions, jump over to the chat box. I'd love to answer those here for you. Also, if you have any other, if you're looking for a solution and you need help with building your real estate portfolio, I've got a solution for you that I'd like to talk to you about. Feel free to stay on the line. If you don't, need any help, if you're just here for the education, that's fine too. Thanks so much for spending your time investing in yourself today. But if you are looking for a solution to help you build your path to wealth, to help you scale, to figure out which path is right for you, how do I want to acquire my properties? How do I want to put together this roadmap? What are my goals? What strategies really align with my goals? How do I build that out? How do I put the right team and systems in place? How do I utilize other people's money to realize my dreams? Then this solution is for you. It's our Investor Accelerator Mastermind. And just think of this mastermind. It's for anybody who's getting started in real estate or just has a few properties in their belt and really wants to learn how to scale. Okay. If you're somewhere between 0 and 15 properties, this mastermind is for you. And in the Investor Accelerator, think of it like a table. Okay. And for people to succeed, you have to have core components. Okay. And this is succeeding at anything. You have to have the education. You have to know what it is you're doing. Okay. How do you use the tool, right? How do you use real estate to build your dream? We've got our educational component part of our course that's lifetime access. Then you got to have a plan. I've talked long and hard about the plan. You got to have a plan. You have to have a business plan. You have to understand how you are going to achieve your goals, reverse engineer your goals, and utilize your capital wisely and your time capital wisely. Okay, this is where most investors actually get off track. They educate, but then they never put it into a plan that they can solidly execute on. Once you get that plan, then it's all about building out the systems. Okay. And this is where the rubber meets the road. We help you put together your plan. We're going to, give you the systems for success. And then we're going to help show you how to put together your team. Okay. Simply. And then we're going to surround you with tons of support to help you scale and teach you ways to continue scaling in other areas of building out your investment portfolio. Okay. In the mastermind, we meet twice a month. Okay, so it's a full year. Okay, so we will meet 24 times throughout the year. So we've got business building sessions, we've got educational sessions. Then we also have 2 ways that you can get ongoing support, either through a weekly meeting where you can ask me anything. We bust through the obstacles to have you move forward. Or you can also go into the chat group and post your question and get feedback from other investors. It's just really how do you like communicating with others? We got both options for you. You can utilize both. But just think about it. With this type of education, planning, systems, and support, how far do you think could you scale your portfolio? That's my question to you. If you feel like this is a good fit, hop on over to the application page, visit ashwealth.com/apply. And yeah, let's set up a time and make sure that this is the right fit for you. Anyways, thank you so much for taking the time today to invest not only in yourself, but also spend it here with me. We will see you next week. Have a great day.